This cave is so massive that it has a completely self-sustaining ecosystem with its own climate conditions. Hundreds of meters underground, the clouds you're used to seeing in the sky form inside this cave.
The Earth's cave systems are more complicated than you might imagine. Some caves are so dangerous they've been permanently sealed.
Holy... Dude, that pit is so scary.
While others welcome tourists on carefully guided paths. But make no mistake, none of these discoveries would have been possible without the daring cave explorers who crawled into the unknown.
What? Holy crap, man.
I mean, this is the biggest room yet, by far.
Oh, by far, man.
Thanks to them, we've uncovered jaw-dropping sights. Enormous crystals, glowing creatures that light up the dark, and even real-life baby dragons. And that's just scratching the surface. Join us for the most shocking things ever found in caves. The Cave Castle. Hidden deep in the misty karst mountains of Slovenia, there lies a fortress unlike any other. Prajama Castle, famously known as the Cave Castle, looks less like it was built and more like it was forced into place by the earth itself. It clings to a towering cliff, sitting right at the mouth of a yawning cave, as if it has been swallowed halfway by the mountain. The walls do not just lean against the rock, they grow out of it, merging stone with stone until it becomes impossible to tell where nature ends and the castle begins. And that is only the beginning of the mystery. This strange, stone creature has stood for over 800 years, and for all that time, it has held the title of the largest cave castle in the world. The Guinness World Records even back it up. But the real story of Prajama Castle is not in its size. It is in the secrets hidden inside. Long ago, a defiant knight named Erazem of Prajama made this eerie place his hideout. He wasn't just any knight. He was a rogue noble who dared to stand against the mighty Habsburgs. And when they came for him, thinking they could trap him like an animal, they found out just how wrong they were. Because Erazem had a secret. Beneath the castle's rocky belly lay an entire maze of hidden tunnels. While the Imperial army camped outside for over a year, thinking they had cornered him, Erazem used those tunnels to sneak in supplies and even taunt his enemies. Some say he would fire back at the besiegers, then vanish into the shadows like a ghost. But that could not last forever. One day, someone from his circle betrayed him. The legend says that in the year 1484, just as he was sitting on the toilet in one of the upper chambers, a cannonball came crashing through the stone wall. It struck him where he sat. The details are grim, and whether every part is true or not hardly matters because the story has stayed alive for over 500 years. It is told over and over again, and no one can quite look at that bathroom window without imagining the moment. But the chills do not stop there. Even now, as visitors walk through the castle, it feels as if the air itself carries stories. Beneath the elegant arches and worn tapestries, bats roost in the lower caves. During World War II, this same cave became a shelter for partisan fighters, the resistance hidden right where Erazem had once hid. And in more recent times, it has captured the imaginations of storytellers from around the world. Some say that George R.R. Martin, the man behind Game of Thrones, was left speechless by the place. It is not hard to imagine why. Its mix of danger and romance, of beauty and strangeness, feels like something out of a fantasy novel. Prajama might be beautiful, but it is also deeply unsettling. That is what makes it unforgettable. And yet, this is only the first act. Far away in the hills of Kentucky, another story hides beneath the ground. The Lost River Cave. Tucked inside a forested sinkhole, this place begins like a trick of the eye. At first, you only see a river flowing peacefully until it slides under a 50-foot limestone ledge and disappears into blackness. Where does it go? That question has baffled people for years. Locals once believed this river was the shortest and deepest in the world. It was a strange claim, but one rooted in an old mistake. Early explorers lowered a measuring weight into the blue hole, which was a striking turquoise pool right near the cave mouth, and read a depth of 437 feet. This shocked everyone because the river only seemed to run about 400 feet. The math made no sense. Still, the story stuck, and soon it became legend. Ripley's Believe It or Not even declared it one of the weirdest rivers on Earth. But the cave had another side. In the 1930s, someone had an idea so bizarre it almost felt made up. To turn the mouth of the cave into a nightclub, and they actually did. A man named Jimmy Stewart built the Cavern nightclub right inside the cave. It became a hot spot, even drawing national acts like Dinah Shore. Billboard magazine called it the only air-conditioned club in America, thanks to the constant 54-degree breeze wafting from the cave's depths. The power for the place came from the river itself, and a water wheel spun and ran a 15-kilowatt generator, completely off the grid. For a while, it worked, but once air conditioning became common, the novelty faded. By the 1960s, the music stopped, and the cave, once full of life, fell into silence. And that is when the decay began. Over time, people began dumping trash into the cave. For decades, it was treated like a forgotten hole. But in the 1990s, local volunteers rose up. They cleaned, fought, and refused to let the story end there. And slowly, the cave came back to life. Yet some things never left. Whispers still float around about Jesse James hiding out in the shadows after a robbery. The truth is uncertain, but the story is irresistible. Others speak of Union soldiers who drowned here during the Civil War. More disturbing still are tales of doctors sneaking condemned prisoners into the cave for secret dissections. Even ghost stories have found a home here. Some say they have seen a woman in a long white dress dancing alone on the old cavern floor. They say she does not look up. She just twirls over and over again to music that no longer plays. Plus, the cave can still turn violent. In the spring of 2021, a series of storms slammed into the area. Floodwaters filled the cave and damaged trails, and crews rushed to repair what nature had undone. Even now, the river that vanishes underground reminds everyone that it is not finished telling its story, but you'll find nothing quite like what was discovered in the next cave. The Reed Flute Cave. Beneath the thick green reeds of Guilin, China, lies a cave that seems almost unreal. These tall reeds are not just ordinary plants, they can be carved into flutes, which is why the cave is called Reed Flute Cave. At first glance, the entrance appears calm and quiet, but once you step inside, everything changes. A hidden world suddenly opens up, one that feels more like a dream than a place on Earth. The walls come alive with shapes that look like they were sculpted by a genius, yet no artist ever touched them. Columns rise like pillars in a forgotten palace, rock curtains seem to hang in midair, and animal shapes peek from corners. But here's what truly catches the eye. Spotlights throw waves of color across every surface. Purple, green, gold, and blue glide across the stone as if the cave itself were breathing light. It feels as though you've entered a glowing underground temple lit by some ancient force. People stop in their tracks, mouths open, unsure if they are walking through nature or stepping onto a neon theater stage. And that is only the beginning. The entire space is made of limestone shaped by nothing more than time and water. A guide once called it the Palace of Natural Arts, and that description feels almost too simple. Scholars have known about this place for more than 1,000 years, and they discovered over 70 carvings and poems on the walls, left by travelers as far back as the Tang Dynasty, around the year 792. But somehow, this magical place vanished from memory. Then, during World War II, something happened. As Japanese forces invaded China, refugees fled into the hills. Some lit torches inside the cave for shelter, and that was when they saw the forgotten inscriptions, the glowing walls, and the miracle hidden in plain sight. From that moment, Reed Flute Cave returned to the world. Going through the cave, it feels like walking through a natural art gallery crafted not by human hands, but by Earth itself. And how long did it take for this place to form? The limestone dates back around 180 million years. That's before the age of dinosaurs. For millions of years, it lay in silence, sealed off from the world. And now, people travel from all over the globe just to see it. Some visitors speak of how the formations seem to shine. That glow comes from tiny crystals inside the stone, and sometimes strange plants or algae appear, glowing specks that cling to the cave walls. Together, these details turn the entire cave into a kind of time machine. It is a place where ancient poetry still waits on stone walls, and 21st century lights now trace the edges of prehistoric shapes. But this isn't the only underground marvel hiding beneath the earth. Travel far to Poland, and there, under the quiet countryside, something even more unbelievable waits. The Wieliczka salt mine. Not hidden in a forest but buried deep in rock, the Wieliczka salt mine holds a surprise that no one expects. For more than 700 years, miners dug here, not for gold or jewels, but for salt. And in doing so, they did something few would ever dream of. They built a cathedral underground. Around 100 meters below the surface lies the chapel of St. Kinga. It doesn't look like it was built, but instead, it looks like it was dreamed. The walls, the floors, the ceilings, and even the chandeliers, everything is made from salt. At first, you descend a staircase made of wood. Then a vast hall opens up, which is 12 meters wide, 18 meters deep, and 54 meters long. Even the floor is one continuous slab of polished salt. At the front of the room, an altar rises. But it's not made of marble or stone. That too is salt, carved over decades by miners who were not just laborers, but artists. One of the most breathtaking features is a wall sculpture of the Last Supper, cut so skillfully that the figures look ready to turn their heads and speak. The high altar, designed by Józef Markowski, holds the relics of St. Kinga herself. The legend says she once threw her engagement ring into a Hungarian salt mine. Centuries later, it was found in the very mine where this chapel stands. That story gave her the name Founder of Wieliczka. Even the chandeliers catch the light like glass. But in reality, they are salt crystals, melted and reformed until they shimmer. Everywhere you look, saints and angels appear in salt. Even Dante and Copernicus have a place, and the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. This mine is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its tunnels stretch over 2 kilometers, and visitors often spend hours wandering through them. Yet all those paths lead to one place, the cathedral, and it is still used. People get married here. Mass is held in silence so deep it feels like being underwater. The acoustics are so perfect that musicians hold concerts within the vaults. Even during the time of communist rule, brave couples married here in secret. But if you think you've seen the oldest artwork of humanity, you haven't, not until you go to New Zealand. The Witomo Glowworm Caves. The moment you step into the Witomo Glowworm Caves, it feels like you've crossed into another world. Darkness closes around you, thick and absolute. But then, as your eyes adjust, the shadows part. Above you, the ceiling begins to glow, not brightly, but gently, like starlight rising in reverse. Thousands of tiny blue-green lights appear, scattered like a hidden Milky Way across the stone sky. And in that quiet, the magic begins. The boat beneath your feet drifts forward. It moves without sound, sliding through an underground river that seems to hum with ancient energy. By candlelight, explorers once gazed at the jagged limestone formations rising all around, walls that ripple like curtains, rocks that form strange shapes, and reflections that shimmer on the still water. But when that one candle goes out, everything changes. In total darkness, the ceiling erupts with light. Every point above you glows as if lit from within. These are no ordinary stars, but glowworms, tiny creatures dangling from the cave roof, and each one spinning a silk thread that sways ever so slightly. It feels like falling into a dream, as there's no sound but water, and no movement but your own breath. Long before any outsiders knew of this place, the Maori already understood its secret. For generations, stories had been passed down of great water creatures, taniwa, that carved out these caves and protected the glowing spirits within. The name they gave the glowworms was titiwai, meaning lights reflected on water, a name as haunting as the site itself. In the year 1887, a Maori chief named Tane Tinorau and an English surveyor, Fred Mace, decided to explore further than anyone had before. They entered the cave in a small boat, pushing slowly through the darkness. Around a bend, without warning, the ceiling lit up above them. Holding only a candle, they stumbled into the glowworm grotto. Years later, historians would still speak of that moment with wonder, as if those lights had been waiting just for them. Only 1 year later, Tinorau began guiding visitors through the caves. There were no proper paths, no lights, only the boat and the dark. He charged admission for the journey, and even back then, people were drawn to the mystery. What we call glowworms, however, are not really worms at all. They are the larvae of small insects called Arachnocampa luminosa. They hang from the ceiling on silken threads, their glow created by a natural chemical process, not unlike fireflies. Each glowing point is a trap, luring tiny insects like moths or mosquitoes into the sticky silk lines. The cave may look peaceful, but it hides a quiet battle for survival. Scientists have studied these creatures closely. The glow comes from two compounds, luciferase and luciferin, that mix in the worm's organs to create cold light. In the nutrient-starved world of the cave, these larvae can survive for weeks, sometimes months, without food. Still, they wait, glowing and suspended in the dark. As your boat glides deeper, you can spot the strands catching the light. Some larvae twitch, pulling in their catches. It's beautiful, but also strange. A silent hunt playing out above your head. However, thousands of miles away, in Oregon, a different kind of darkness waits. The Lava River Cave. Descending a steep metal staircase from a quiet parking lot, you step under a low arch of rock. At first, there's only a shadow. Then, with one flick of your flashlight, a tunnel appears, and it's long, black, and endless. You are now inside the Lava River Cave. The cold air hits you immediately, and it stays around 42 degrees Fahrenheit, no matter the season. Even in the middle of summer, your breath turns white. The ceiling above curves like the inside of a cathedral, but there are no stained glass windows here, only rough, sharp formations of black basalt, shaped by heat and time. You move slowly, your light cutting a narrow beam through the pitch black. Every footstep echoes and then disappears. There is no wind or birds, no sounds but your own. How was this place even found? This cave is the result of an eruption that took place around 65,000 years ago. Back then, the Newberry volcano spilled rivers of lava across central Oregon. As the surface cooled and hardened, the lava underneath kept moving, carving out a channel. When the flow finally stopped, the space it had left behind remained hollow, silent, and perfectly preserved. Long before modern explorers found it, native tribes were aware of the strange formation. Obsidian flakes discovered nearby suggest the cave was used as shelter. But it wasn't until the year 1889 that a pioneer hunter officially documented its existence. Stretching over 5,200 feet, Lava River Cave is the longest continuous lava tube in Oregon. But walking is not easy. There are no installed lights, only the gear you bring. Rangers recommend 2 headlamps, and if you lose your batteries, the darkness will swallow you whole. Some areas of the cave are wide and smooth. Others are tight, jagged, and scattered with fallen boulders. In one section, The tunnel narrows so much that you have to crawl. The air grows colder, and a faint smell of sulfur lingers, while ice crystals sparkle on the walls. Here, the lava has formed odd, knobby columns, and people call them lava cycles. Some rise like stalagmites, others hang low, and at one point, water dripping steadily from the ceiling becomes your only clue that the tunnel is ending. Sand-laden runoff has filled this far end slowly, over centuries. No one knows how deep the sand goes or what lies beyond it. The mystery is part of what makes it unforgettable, because there could be another chamber, a collapsed tunnel, or maybe something that has never been seen. But for now, it remains sealed. 100 feet above, cars roll down Highway 97, but down here, time feels frozen. In winter, the cave closes entirely. Bats come here to hibernate, and park officials take no chances. Visitors must wash their boots to prevent spreading white nose fungus, a disease that can devastate bat populations. Climbing the final stairs, you emerge into the sunlight. But inside you, the memory remains of walking through a tunnel carved by fire beneath layers of ancient rock. The Abbico Crystal Caves. Far beneath the pine-covered ridges of Abbico Island, past the sunlit surface and warm tropical air, lies a hidden world few have seen and even fewer understand. This is no ordinary cave system. It is a glittering kingdom of crystal and still water, where divers must descend into complete silence and leave behind every expectation of what nature can look like. To reach this place, cave divers suit up in thick wetsuits and slide into freshwater sinkholes. The descent begins peacefully, but the further they go, the stranger things become. Soon, they hit the halocline, a trembling glass-like layer where the lighter freshwater floats above the heavier saltwater. One push through, and everything changes. The water grows thicker, the light turns greenish-blue, and shadows blur into something entirely new. What comes next is almost too surreal to describe. Inside these flooded caves, the walls erupt with formations that seem more like dreams than geology. Delicate crystal roses bloom on the ceilings, while massive columns shoot from floor to ceiling like pillars in a forgotten palace. Everything glows faintly, washed in light refracted through water and rock, creating a world that feels suspended in time. These are the crystal caves of Abbico. They go by names like Ralph's Cave and Dan's Cave, though their shapes betray something older and untouched. At one point, divers swim into a chamber known as the Glass Factory. One explorer described what he saw there as a sudden explosion of rock candy, which was delicate, dangerous, and absolutely dazzling. The orange-brown layers coating some walls come from ancient Saharan dust, drifted across the ocean and trapped in the crystals over time. Even the bones of bats who are long dead rest undisturbed in lime-stained corners, preserved so clearly they almost seem alive. In the Crystal Palace, another chamber hidden deep in the cave system, enormous gypsum draperies spill from the ceiling to the floor like frozen waterfalls. The formations twist and curl like fabric, yet they are solid rock. The cave drops to depths of 150 feet and rises back to 40, but the water never changes much. It stays between 67 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, just warm enough to be comfortable, just cool enough to remind you where you are. Here, time feels slower. Because of the neutral buoyancy in the water, divers can float weightlessly in these chambers. Some stay for hours, as long as their gas holds out. Others lose track of everything above, distracted by the shifting beams of white light that break through the halocline. These beams fall in streaks and slices, catching on the crystal surfaces and making them gleam like jewels beneath the sea. But the halocline is not always the same. Local guide Brian Kakuk, one of the few who truly know this cave's secrets, warns that the halocline moves with the seasons. More rain in the winter means a thicker freshwater layer, sometimes obscuring entire chambers. The only way forward is to keep exploring. to push through the rippling water and see what lies beyond. And there is always more. In 2019, Kakuk announced the discovery of a new cluster of bell-shaped crystals in an unexplored sinkhole. It was yet another reminder that these caves are not finished revealing themselves. Today, both novice cavern divers and experienced rebreather explorers come here to witness the light show. They return to the surface in silence. Their faces say everything, because after drifting like ghosts through the emerald-lit tunnels, words feel useless. Back on land, under the warm Abbico sun, they carry with them the chill of a memory that refuses to fade. But Abbico is not the only place where rock takes on impossible shapes. The Hell's Bells of Cenote, Zapote. In Mexico, another cave hides a forest, but this is an inverted one. To reach it, divers must descend into the waters of Cenote, Zapote. At first, it seems like just another cenote, a sinkhole carved through limestone by time. But once you pass the 90-foot mark, the water thickens. A sulfurous layer hisses beneath your body, and then, as you sink further, shapes begin to appear. Hanging from the ceiling are strange cones. They look like giant bells made of stone, each one 5 to 8 feet long. They sway slightly in the water, silent and ghostly, as though waiting to ring. Divers nicknamed them Hell's Bells. No one had ever seen anything quite like them. When local scientist Geronimo Avilés first saw the formations in 2011, he immediately knew something was wrong. These were not normal stalactites. They were alive, dripping with bacteria and algae that thrived on the hydrogen sulfide rising from the depths below. As this toxic gas rises, microscopic organisms feed on it. In doing so, they change the chemistry of the surrounding water, making it slightly alkaline. This triggers a slow, steady precipitation of gypsum. Over centuries, the cones grow taller, layer by layer. Each bell is a living monument, shaped by microbes and time. What makes Zapote's bells so unique is their size and shape. Nowhere else in the world are they this large or this perfect. Some scientists believe the bell shape comes from trapped bubbles of carbon dioxide rising through the water, carving out the base as they float upward. Only under very specific conditions, where the cave ceiling is flat and soaked in that toxic layer, can these formations grow. One of the largest bells, known simply as Big Mama, measures 4 meters by 4 meters. On the cenote floor lies the trunk of an ancient tree, over 4,500 years old. It's been there so long that small bells have grown all over it, ranging from 30 to 200 years in age. Diving among them is like stepping into a dream. You are completely surrounded by living stones, floating in emerald light. Every inch of the ceiling seems alive, and though the place looks still, there is always movement. Microbes swirl in the haze. Light flickers against each bell's curve, and all around you, the sulfur reminds you, this beauty is deadly. Staying too long is not an option. The noxious air can sting your throat and burn your lungs. Divers must ascend quickly. Breathing fresh air again feels like a miracle. But even on the surface, the memory lingers. The bells, the silence, the sense that something ancient and powerful still sways beneath the jungle. And then, there is the deepest secret of all. In the Nica mine of Mexico, buried far beneath the desert floor, a crystal cave was discovered that seems almost too fantastic to be real. When miners Juan and Pedro Sanchez broke through a flooded wall in April 2000, they found it. A massive chamber filled with crystals, larger than buses. The cave had once been underwater, filled with mineral-rich brine heated by magma deep below. That water, near boiling at over 130 degrees Fahrenheit, had allowed the gypsum to grow undisturbed for 500,000 years. When the mine's pumps finally drained the space, what was revealed stunned the world. Some of the selenite crystals measured over 36 feet long and 1 meter thick. Each one looked like a frozen beam of light, translucent and sharp. Together, They formed a forest of stone, a place where the walls glittered with impossible size and purity. But walking through this wonder was not easy. The heat inside reached deadly levels. With 99% humidity and nearly boiling air, it felt like being trapped in a steam room. Scientists had to wear special cooling suits, and even then, they could only stay for 30 to 45 minutes at a time. One moment too long, and the body could shut down. Despite the danger, research teams pushed forward. They studied the crystals, hoping to unlock the secrets of Earth's formation. They found that the purity and slow growth of the pillars made them perfect records of geological history. But the risks were too great. Eventually, the mine was sealed again. The pumps were turned off. Water returned, reflooding the chamber and preserving the crystals in their natural state. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.